In the next 24 months, boxing is going to turn into the UFC.
Let's get this show started!
The boxing model of what it is now will be no more.
Are we about to witness the next evolution for the sport of boxing?
Gigantic, this is seismic, this is game-changing. They're going to change boxing as we know it.
Some people saying it's going to take 10 years. I don't think so.
Anthony Joshua!
This right hand is the biggest shot I've seen live.
In 15 months already, Turkey has already revolutionized the sport. And now he's teamed up with Nick Khan and Dana White, the CEOs of the UFC and the WWE, to launch this new boxing league with TKO. We are in for a dramatic change.
You want to fix boxing.
You know the format, and everybody knows the format. The best fight the best.
And I trust this league in short time will crush everything.
I received a message a few days ago. I was at the Harlem Eubank Media Day in Brighton, and my initial reaction, my heart sunk, and I was just like, wow, that's a lot to take in. As a boxing fan and as someone that works in boxing media, this is huge. This is revolutionary. If this goes ahead, which it is going to have its struggles because you've got things like the Ali Act in place to prevent this, but if they overcome these hurdles, then boxing as we know it will change forever. What does that mean? What happens to the promoters? What happens to the WBA, WBO, WBC? What happens to those organizations with the belts? They're not needed anymore. They're gone.
Dana White and TKO want to get involved in boxing. Shows you exactly where boxing's at.
What happens to the broadcasters? It said in the message that they'll be having their own broadcast. So what you're saying is 90% of the boxing world that we go to for interviews, that we watch for entertainment and drama, they're not needed anymore. It's literally going to be one man, one company, and everything will be under one roof where fighters will only be paid a X amount, and it has lots of good things, it has lots of bad things. This is so much to cover, and a lot of it is the unknown. It is the unknown. Like, what are we to expect now? So just going back a little bit as well, when you look at Turkey, when he met Dana White 8 months ago, what happened?
I am very happy to work with him. We have a lot of surprise in the future.
I've just realized that all of these moves that have been played over the last 15 months, they're there for the bigger picture, and they've been playing chess. They've managed to get everybody on board, every single promoter. They've acquired everything possible, and it's been amazing. It's been great. I've been to Saudi Arabia 3 times. Every single time I've been there, it's been great. When I come back home and I go to a smaller event, it's so different. It feels weird that you haven't got songs named after the fighters and all of the flashing lights and, you know, being in that big bubble. You know, what they have produced so far has been amazing, and I've loved it, and it's changed so many people's perception on boxing. You know, for a long time boxing was dying, but now with this coming in, with the new boxing league, we now need to really think, how many people are even going to still be in boxing that are in it now? Your promoters, your awarding bodies, the WBO, WBC, IBO, IBF, WBA, all of that, they're all gone. Why would they need any of these people? The broadcasters as well. 90% of these people will not be needed. When this pendulum shifts, they're going to have just their core team. And when you adopt that UFC model, let's face it, when you look at the awarding bodies like the WBC, if you are one of those champions, you have to pay a percentage of your pay just to have the belt. You know, there's a lot of corruption in boxing, which everybody hates. It's one of the most corrupt sports in the world. So when you think about having it under one organization, if managed properly, then it would be really good. It would be great for the fighters. But there's also a lot of legacy with these belts. You know, when you're a kid and you want to be a world champion, you envision having that big green WBC belt over your shoulder, or your Ring Magazine belt. You have those visions of fighters now. They want to be undisputed. We're in the undisputed era. So when you've got all of these people that want to be that man, to change it all of a sudden and say, right, this is the new belt. This is now the best you could be in the world. If you have this one belt, you're the best. There's no history there. There's no anything. At some point in 20 years time, when we have our kids watching it, great. That's all they will know. But for the current generation, it's so different. It's prestigious to have these belts around your waist. When you see Naoya Inoue or Alexander Usyk or Terence Crawford and they're holding all these belts, or Dmitry Bivol a few weeks ago, when you see them holding all them belts, you're like, that is the pinnacle of boxing. And now, what is the pinnacle of boxing? What's it going to be? You know, of course, it'll be their one belt, but then also having that monopoly can bring problems. And you look at the UFC model, if you are a low-level fighter and you're working your way up and you can make 50 grand to turn up, 50 grand to win, and you're an average fighter, amazing. You're earning more more than you ever would, selling tickets in York Hall, scraping by with sponsorships. Amazing. But when you get to that top level, when you get to that main event status and you are worth like a Canelo or a Floyd Mayweather, when you're making hundreds of millions in a fight, that will never happen ever again. Because you will be under one banner being told, we're going to pay you this fight purse, and that is that. Unless there's contracts in place where they can get a percentage of pay-per-view buys and stuff, that would be great. But if you are having Dana White on board that's looking to make profit, you are not going to be giving this generation of fighters the paydays that the current fighters are getting. That 1% that everyone looks up to, that they want to be, the person that has houses everywhere, can go on training camps everywhere, that will be restricted. So you start to think, with everything that's going on, have we sort of been led into a trap? This was clearly the bigger picture all along. So what about the broadcasters? This is a big part. Obviously, I work with DAZN at the moment. They've put everything into the sport. They've also helped Riyadh season heaps. They've covered every single event. You've got Sky Sports, TNT Sports, ESPN. Of course, there's too many broadcasters going. A lot of them have dedicated large workforce into this. So they could be gone. It was announced on the message that they will have their own broadcast. So you can say goodbye to your DAZN, the home of boxing. You could say goodbye to ESPN. Say goodbye to all those guys. They're not going to be needed no more. But they bring more than just the broadcast. A lot of these people do on the ground work. They do lots of interviews with the fighters. They get lots of exclusive time to keep fans up to date. And I'm not saying that the new boxing league can do that on its own, but there's a lot of people that are already doing it and doing a very good job as the sport is thriving. So broadcasters will be out. The promoters, Frank Warren, I saw a video of him at a show that he promoted. It might have been the 70s or something, I don't know, but he was young. It was in like black and white. You know, Frank Warren has been around since day dot, really. He's been through it all. And I'm not saying he's a great promoter or a bad promoter. He's had his ups and downs. But you've got your Frank Warrens and your Eddie Hearns and your Oscar De La Hoyas. What happens to them? Surely these promoters are thinking, oh, hang on a second. We might be out of a job here. They could easily acquire your fighters, take over. They might end up becoming the equivalent in the UFC. They might end up becoming the promoters of like a Cage Warriors or a PFL. They might end up having to run their own boxing away from the main big boxing hub. Are they going to give up their best fighters, the world champions? Are they going to give up those paydays and the days that they work hard for nothing? Are they just going to say, sure, have it, all the best? I don't think so. I don't even think they could be bought out because they're so invested in the sport. So there's so many questions, and this is just obviously an initial reaction to what's coming out, and we don't know what's going to happen, right? You would hope that the infrastructure of all the good things in boxing currently can transfer over, including the people, because there are tens of thousands of jobs in the boxing world, maybe hundreds of thousands. When you talk about your matchmakers and your managers and all these people that are involved, they are influential, and a lot of them have their place in the sport. What happens to them when they don't have their place? There's no redundancy. It's not like you've been at a company for 20 years and they're like, we're really sorry, we're being taken over, here, have this pay. It's actually more, you're not needed anymore, and that's it. See you later, thank you. When you look at the bigger plan of what's happened recently, you can start to piece together, okay, wait, so Riyadh season has actually learned the business model and the promotion, and it has taken everything, all of the knowledge, to do it itself. Because Eddie was in an interview a while ago and he had mentioned, oh no, the job we do is so bespoke, you know, not anyone can do this, it's very difficult, but you've given someone all of your foundations to go and do it themselves. So anyway, I sound like I'm moaning. Here's the good point. So let's say every single fighter is under one roof. Let's just say all of them are in this boxing league in the next couple of years. What will we get? We're going to get exciting fight nights regularly. We're going to get one champion, one legitimate champion, and we're going to have so much competition. We're going to have superstars fighting each other that have been avoiding each other if they want to fight, which is great. And that is what boxing's lacked. It's been happening more now, but did it need the boxing league for it to happen? I guess business-wise, think of how much money His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has spent and given away pretty much to make this happen. He's not making money, and the UFC model makes money. Dana White is a billionaire. He knows how to make money. So to have a business model work so the sport thrives, you need to know that everyone can make money, right? So that's good. So like I said, the lower level fighters will get paid well. They will be happy. They're going to make more than they ever would in their local sports hall. But there will still be a place for that. There are still going to be boxers that are trying to make a name for themselves before they get signed to this new boxing league. So yes, it will be good. And when you look at the other things, obviously the 4-belt system, you're paying a lot of money there. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of mandatories. When you win a belt and then they say, oh, Usyk, you need to fight for the IBF in the next 2 months, otherwise you have to vacate. He's just become champion and he's got all the belts. Why are you then taking one away from him for no reason? Because he has other mandatories with other belts. It makes no sense. It's complete nonsense. So to get rid of the belts, as prestigious as they are and as amazing as it is to have them, it is more efficient to have one belt. So that's a good thing. So the Ali Act, you've got this in place to stop the corruption in the sport at the biggest level. And that means someone having a monopoly on it. What's happening right now? Not corruption in this, but someone is looking to take over the whole sport and have it in their hand. There's a reason why the Ali Act was created. It's so fighters are paid well, and it's to give them certain rights that will do them well. How are they going to overcome that? We don't know. You know, Dana White's very good friends with the President Donald Trump. Maybe he's going to chat to him and maybe things can be overturned. Who knows? I don't know what it's going to be like in England. When you look at boxing as a whole, in England, in the UK, you've got a lot of great shows on every week. Today, Friday 7th of March, there's 3 different boxing events on in England. All great events. You know, you've got an all-women's card, you've got Sean Noakes headlining, you've got Harlem Eubank headlining. So there's lots of good stuff happening. But when you have this new league happen, what's going to happen to all those smaller shows? And another thing for the fighters, with the UFC, the fighters aren't allowed sponsorships. Or if they do have sponsors, they can't show them at events because the only sponsor that can be seen is the one via the UFC, like Venom. So other ways of making money that you can get in boxing, I know certain boxers that make a good amount of money from sponsorships. You're going to struggle to get sponsors if they don't get the certain reach that they're looking for, you know, to have them on your shorts, for example. Boxers have had sponsors on their shorts and everywhere else and on their jackets and t-shirts for donkey's years. It's a part of the sport. Taking stuff like that away, which is potential just because of Dana White's influence, is going to be damaging to the fighter. So what's it going to look like in the future? How's it all going to change? So it's not going to happen overnight. They're clearly going to have an event, their first event where it happens. They're probably going to sign young and hungry fighters that are happy to sign, and they're probably going to start putting these on because they've already got the Riyadh season fighters. They've already signed your Canelos and your Inoues and Crawford. They should be able to hopefully cross that over. So as that happens, they're going to be having their first boxing league show happen, and I'm guessing over time they're going to be buying people out, they're going to be signing fighters, and we're going to experience so much news, so much fight news. We're probably going to be hearing so-and-so signed today, so-and-so signed today. You know, everyone's just going to jump on ship. And I feel like what will happen is you'll have your first show with a handful of people, and everyone's like, oh, how do I get on? How do I get on? Managers will reach out, all of these fighters will start signing, and then you're at the end of an era now where most of the best world champions we've got are in their mid to late 30s. So, of course, they might not get those big paydays, but they could be on the biggest platform and be a part of this shift. So you might see your Dimitri Bivol turn over and sign and have the best light heavyweight in the world in that league. So if you're a light heavyweight and you want to be the best in the world, you got to go and join the boxing league so you can fight Dimitri Bivol, because you can't fight him if you're not a part of it. So as fighters start to jump over, I think it'll be a snowball effect. And within the space of the next 24 months, we will all of a sudden see champions over there turning over, and then they have to fight to become a champion where there'll only be one. So when I say it'll take 24 months, I seriously think it'll be that quick. At the moment, you've got Riyadh season events and you've got the ring events, and they're brilliant. We've got loads coming up. We've got a triple header in New York. We've got Canelo's Skull. We've got Eubank Ben in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. You've got all of these fights that are going ahead right now and more being made. So my question is, and what I'm not sure is, how much longer are they going to go on before we say, see you later DAZN, see you later TNT Sports. Okay, right, Eddie, we're not going to be dealing with your fight fighters no more unless they come to our league. We've already got a few of them over. See you later. Like, I feel like there's going to be so much happening very soon. This all might sound negative from me right now because I'm in shock. But who knows? This could be amazing. Like, there's a reason why the UFC's done so well. And I know fighters haven't been happy. Maybe Turkey is going to pay them well, and maybe we're not going to be hiked with big pay prices. Like, you got the UFC Fight Pass. If you're a UFC fan, the UFC Fight Pass costs a bum. Whereas Turkey made it clear that pay-per-view buys were going to be nice and low across the world. Instead of it being $100 in America, it was $25, you know? So unless that doesn't transfer over and they make it affordable for the fan and keep it affordable, they might offer it free for everybody for a year like they've already done. And then by the time everyone's on board and happy, they could easily have the power to hike it up. I'm hoping they don't, because it seems that they got good intentions of the sport, but there's just so many questions. I personally don't like the fact that one person or a few people are in charge of a whole entire sport. That's corruption at its finest usually. Like, you look at like the Olympics and stuff, and you look at all these committees and it's terrible. You look at the corruption in professional boxing right now and it's terrible. So I guess if you've only got a handful of people, but they're still putting on the best events, and you know, you look at the production of these events that they're doing, it's incredible. Over the last year, we've seen like movie style trailers with fighters. We've had so much great media coverage that if they are going to translate that over, amazing. Because I'm sure they will. We're going to then have, as a fan, a cinematic experience. So yeah, there's lots of goods, lots of bads. I just think if you're in the boxing industry right now, you're probably questioning, where do you sit? Where do you lie? You know, what's going to happen to your job? Is it best for you to try and maybe team up with these guys and become a part of the new era? But then also there's another side to it. You've got people that are embracing it. Let's go, all good. I feel like Eddie and Frank wouldn't have heard about this. I feel like Eddie and Frank wouldn't have heard about this only a few days ago. I feel like they must be a part of the bigger picture. And I know I'm only talking about them two. It's just because they're in England and they're sort of closest to us. But I feel like everyone has a part to play. And if we all do it correctly and it transitions properly, I think it could be very good. It might not sound it after me complaining about all those things. All of the issues we've got in professional boxing right now are already being sorted out by one man, and that's Turkey. He has sorted out so much. He's got rid of the divide with politics, with promoters. He's given fighters great payday. He's putting on shows that are incredible. We had the greatest card ever, it was billed as, a few weeks ago. And it is by far the best boxing event I've ever been to. Yes, I'm only 28 years old and I've not witnessed the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle and all of that, unfortunately. But in recent times, what he has done is incredible for the sport. You do wonder what their gain is. Obviously, Saudi Arabia want to have tourists. They want to become a hub. They've already got so much to do with football, with golf, they've got a Ronnie O'Sullivan snooker academy. You know, they've got the Mike Tyson boxing gym. They've got so many amazing things out there already. They've got so many superstars out there that it is clear they want to become the central hub. Is that a bad thing? No. I love going out there. I've been out there 3 times, but if you are going as a sports fan, it is different. If you're the type of guy that wants to sit down, have a few beers, laugh with your mates and watch the boxing, you can't do that. You can't drink alcohol. When you're actually in Saudi Arabia, there's no footpaths, so you can't just go on a walk in the morning. You got to get taxis from everywhere. You know, there's a lot of infrastructure problems in Saudi Arabia that they are fixing, but they're not there yet. So bringing it all to Saudi, it's not a bad thing. I can't wait to go back out there, but they're not complete yet. And there's so much they need to do. And saying that, they're going to do it. So let's fast forward 10 years from now. Say goodbye to all the belts. We've got one belt. Say goodbye to all the promoters. We've got one main promoter. Boxing's thriving. There's a main event every single week in a different country, right? You could even have those promoters, I'm hoping, or whoever it is, go into these events to support them. You know, they could have their twist on the UFC model. Fast forward 10 years from now, you are looking at something that could be great. This could take over. This could be the biggest combat sport in the world again. Boxing used to be prestigious. Everyone used to watch it on daytime TV and they would all tune in and they'd all talk about it and it'd be on mainstream news. Don't happen no more. It could happen again because of this. So there's so many good things that could happen. So let's put it into a picture again. Let's just try and envision what boxing will look like when they got the league. So let's say in 2 years' time, the Boxing League has signed all the major major fighters in the world. They're fighting every other week. They're headlining in every single city. It becomes the next best thing. Amazing. Then what we'll also get in the sport are the smaller productions. So we're going to have people feed them into this new boxing league. So if you're good enough and you've built up a great record and you're doing numbers, but you're not in the boxing league, you'll get scouted, you'll get signed up, and you'll be in. So that's how I see it happening. There's going to be smaller organizations that will feed them into the new boxing league, and then you're going to have your world champions that will be treated like royalty.